Coming up on today's show.
What about doing comedy in China?
They're like, oh, this is awesome, you know.
Everybody laughed. Once that starts, it's a hook that you can never get rid of.
And I found when I'm in Guangzhou, my English becomes better.
I said, son of bitch.
And the kids, they understand most of what we're talking about. And the parents are like, hey, how did you know that?
Are there any other taboo things that you wouldn't talk about in a routine?
No politics.
No politics.
Well, I don't think so, but as a Chinese, I better keep quiet.
Welcome to China Chats, a FaceTime production brought to you by Guangdong Radio and Television. Today's show comes from Edge, an elite bar and restaurant here in Guangzhou, and we've got a great show for you because I'm surrounded by three incredible talents who have chosen a career that can be at best exhilarating and rewarding, at worst frustrating and humiliating. Yes, it's no laughing matter being a stand-up comedian. First we have Kevin Zhou, founder of the first takeout comedy club on mainland China. Kevin graduated with an engineering degree from a top university and dived into comedy in 2009, performing regularly in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, where he also leads the writing team for a popular TV comedy show. We also welcome Kenneth Kwan, a professor at Guangzhou Xinghai Conservatory of Music and a prolific stand-up comedian, having performed across China and in Singapore since 2007. Kenneth does stand-up shows in English, Cantonese and Mandarin, and claims to be the only known comedian to have bombed in all three languages. Our final guest is Pete Grella. Pete moved to Hong Kong from New York 8 years ago, co-founding a new long-form improvisation group, Three Dudes Improv, in 2012. He is open for many visiting comics from around the world and has performed across Asia. Pete also teaches improv and is the co-producer of the annual Hong Kong International Improv Festival. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. Thanks. So, you've all just recently done your first shows here in Guangzhou. How was it, Kenneth?
Great. We had 2 sold-out performances. People loved it.
How did Guangzhou compare to other places you've performed?
One of the better places
Yeah?
I've performed in, really.
Why?
Yes. Your audience,
Yeah?
they loved it. Stand-up comedy is so much is about the audience. The more energy the audience give us, the more stuff we can give them.
Pete, how did you like it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot as well.
Was it your first time?
Our second time, actually. We
okay.
did a show in another venue about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we don't do a lot of shows here often. We'd like to.
Right.
But a lot of the expats here come up to us after the show and say, you got to come back. That was amazing.
I am one of them. Why 2 to 3 years between?
I don't know. We're trying to find some places to come into. Like Ken said, it's a great audience for the interaction and for the energy because they're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Kevin, how was it for you?
Yeah, this is my first time doing a show in Guangzhou.
Because you're based in Shenzhen.
Yes, and most show I do is in Mandarin.
Right.
And I found when I'm in Guangzhou, my English becomes better.
My name is Kevin. I have a dream to open up a 24 hours convenience store. The name is Kevin 11. You want to buy something?
So coming to somewhere like Guangzhou, is it different? Do you have to prepare different material?
Oh, definitely. It's easier for me because I work here.
Yeah.
So the kind of complaints that everybody has, I just talk about them.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to get a taxi when you needed one? And when you do get a taxi, and then he's gonna find every reason to deny you. I don't belong to this district. My foot do not belong on your face anymore.
So where does your inspiration come for that?
Well, basically, I just base my comedy, most of it is on an expat trying to fit in.
Yeah.
So all I had to do is just kind of modify it a little bit and tweak it here and there.
I was back in Hong Kong. I was waiting for a bus one time, and I hear these 2 local Hong Kong guys over in the distance talking, and they're pointing over at me. And one of them says, some fat guy.
right? I'm like, whoa. So I went over and I politely punched him in his neck. So you don't say that about me. And then as I was walking back, I noticed the street sign, and it said "Some Fat Street," which in Cantonese is "Some Fat Guy." So, oops. Sorry.
For me, it's a problem to find material from the daily life, because I put a lot of efforts trying to help my club members in Shenzhen. So I give them lots of material, so lefting me only a little.
You've got to be a taker, not a giver.
Can you give me some?
Look, see me after the show. But, I mean, you mentioned your club in Shenzhen.
Yes.
What's the inspiration behind that?
Actually, before that, I used to be an engineer.
Right.
But the first day when I joined the company, I found it was a mistake. So I decided to do something different.
What, on day one?
But I started doing stand-up comedy after 5 years.
You know, the first time when I was standing on the stage of stand-up comedy, the founder asked me to do a 7-minute joke. Well, 7 minutes? How could I do it? Because I had only one joke. And then I figured out I could make it by speaking very slowly. But after finishing that, nobody laughed. Like now.
I didn't expect to do stand-up comedy. I wanted to do movie.
Yeah.
But I found some place to do public speeches. Then I fell in love with stand-up comedy.
I wanted to do a movie, but unfortunately, anyway.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah. You sure? Kenneth, how did you start out?
I went to school in the US, and just like every university student, you party and drink and late night and watch talk shows.
Yeah.
That's how I started watching David Letterman,
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien, and I said, wow, that's so cool. And in 2007, I read about this competition in Hong Kong, that they were gonna have a stand-up competition. I said, well, I can do that. I entered, and I flopped so badly.
What made you want to do it again if it went so badly?
Of course, before the flop, there was the first open mic when I had no expectation.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed. That's the problem. Once that starts, it's a hook that you can never get rid of.
Is that the same for you, Pete?
Well, I used to live in New York City.
Okay.
So I used to go to a lot of comedy clubs.
What were you doing at the time? Did you
I
have a
used to be an
regular job?
engineer, actually.
Oh, engineer.
as well.
So this is where I went wrong. I should have become an engineer.
So, and then I got into creative design and graphic design. That got me moved over to Hong Kong. And I met the owner of Takeout Comedy, Jamie Gong. He's a fellow New Yorker. Just opened the club. And that was like 7 years ago. And I went to the first shows, and it was tough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not doing this.
So you went to watch?
I went to watch.
Right.
I took his workshop,
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
to watch, and I said, no, they're struggling. I'm not doing it. It was scary. Then they had an improv workshop, a 5-week course. I took that, and that was a little bit less pressure because you were in a group.
Right.
And then a few months later, Jamie and the other guys, oh, you got to do stand-up, you got to do stand-up. And there was a bigger roster, less pressure. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And that was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Do we have any Cantonese speakers here? Make some noise. My favorite though is $8. Batman. Because that sounds a lot like Batman. Yeah, right, I know it's so juvenile of me. But I love going into a local shop. I find something for $8 and I always chuckle a little bit. When the person behind the counter says Batman. And then I always say, how did you know? Tell no one.
Where do you get your ideas? You said you get it from your daily life. I mean,
Yes.
Do you go around with a notebook? Do you go around... How do you write?
Yes, I got a database on my cell phone. Every time we have something, when we talk, I have to write down immediately. I think everybody has this.
Is this the same for you guys? It's just...
I would write list of things like things I hate about Guangzhou.
Right.
I just write them like 30
How long
things.
is that list?
Oh, well, it's not long enough.
Guangzhou is actually very convenient with your MTR. Yes. Yeah, but what I don't understand is that there is a sign that asked us to give up our seats to people in need. I'll show you the sign. The kind of people that we are supposed to give up our seats to. A fat man! A fat man! But some say, no, this is really not a fat man. This is really a pregnant lady. My question is, where are the breasts?
And how often do you refresh it? I mean, if you only come to Guangzhou every 2 or 3 years, you don't have to worry.
Right.
But you know, if you're performing regularly in Hong Kong, because you're going to get repeat customers, aren't you?
We're starting to get more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've been doing it for a while, normally we do 8-9 minute sets that we can bring in other jokes, and just so you come one night, come another night, like we've seen sometimes, oh no, front row, people, they've seen me before. Start bringing the old jokes back because they haven't seen those yet. They saw the newer
They're brave
ones.
guys sitting on the front row. They're target. I mean, because I was going to mention the interaction with the audience.
Yeah.
Oh wow, free, and you guys are all from India too, right? Wow, beautiful. Did you like? Are you guys like Indian models? Oh, I know. I'm just
You're beautiful though. I wish I was married so I can get divorced to go out with you guys. This is amazing. You're that hot. This is amazing. Oh man.
I love you guys. You guys are just like the Sex in the City. Yeah. All right. Now who's Samantha?
How important is that to you as comedians, the rapport with the audience?
Oh, very important. The energy, that's how we get the energy. That's where we get the energy from.
You had a lot of fun with Bob, the 13-year-old boy.
Yes, yes.
You know, I like the way that basically the four of you, it became a running joke from here. How you doing, Bob? You know.
How old are you?
13.
Bob, stand up, Bob. And get on that chair. Stand on that chair. It's all right. You're gonna be in trouble. Like, no one's gonna tell you off. This is Bob. He's this big, and he's 30 years old. It's remarkable what they can do in China nowadays. These factories in Guangzhou, they're just churning out tiny little grown-ups.
Bob, what's your favorite subject at school? No, we don't care. All we care is, do you have a girlfriend? No, seriously. So you have a lot of boyfriends.
And obviously that wasn't making fun of him, you know, it was just making him part of the show.
Yep. And for the most part, most of the parents are cool with it.
Yeah.
And the kids, they understand most of what we're talking about. And the parents are like, hey, how did you know that?
Right, most of the time when I ask my kids what'd you do on the weekend, they don't say, I went to a bar with my parents. Oh, really? Was it good? Yes, free flowing. Free flowing. So.
What about doing comedy in China? How do you find that as a different experience? Maybe in terms of some of the material that you use.
I think for me, when I do Mandarin one and English one is totally different. People tend to ask you to always give them new material.
Right.
But for English one, when my second term, when I do this, audience said, why didn't you do the same one?
Because he'd come back to see, he liked it.
Yeah. He liked that one.
Kenneth, how about you? Because you've died in all 3 languages.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I bombed in all 3 languages. Yeah. It's hard to be sarcastic in Chinese.
Right.
Because we're so humble. So we don't want to offend people.
Yeah. Which language do you prefer to perform in?
Audience-wise, the English audience is always better because culturally they accept that. They come here to listen to you and to enjoy. Usually when we do a Cantonese show, and because we are not known performers, so they come here and say, hey, okay, show me what you got.
Yeah.
Is that funny? I don't think so. That's kind of the attitude.
So is that the reason why we need more comedy shows in China, so that people get more familiar with it?
Yes.
I absolutely loved it.
I think if you can understand, you enjoyed it.
I'm happy to find that sort of thing happening here in Guangzhou because it's very much a Western sort of kind of entertainment, really.
I like the first guy. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Kenneth. I like him very much. I thought he was very comfortable, and that was fun.
I felt a little worried whenever there's make fun of China because I want to be sensitive, but I still thought it was funny.
The second man's, what's the second man's name? Kevin, thank you.
Kevin.
Kevin's marriage jokes were wonderful.
Yeah.
At the midnight, you know, he cries out and wake up everyone. So I hold him in my hand. I said, "Son of a bitch." And then I realized it was my son.
Those were good.
Yeah.
Because they were true.
They were good-hearted, and it was kind of done in a spirit of kind of fun, really. It was respectful still.
Tonight was great. Tonight was a really, really fun show. There was a big buzz. And I think in a place like Guangzhou, which is very business focused, which is a very international city, you can expect to see the same kind of international audience that we would get in Hong Kong.
The joys of doing Asian comedy is you have no idea what the door is doing in terms of control. So sometimes we get children coming in. We did a show in Shenzhen where a dog ran into the show at one point. You don't know, it's China.
Tell us about your content. How do you decide on your content? And do you change your content for Chinese audience, Western audience? And when you see a group, I mean, how do you get it going between them?
Chinese, no politics.
No politics. What do you think the reaction would be if you did start doing political
They just
gags?
do not laugh.
I don't think so, but as a Chinese, I better keep quiet.
But can you do political jokes about other countries?
Sure, but you can only do it in a bar or something.
Yeah. How about you? I mean,
the only thing we have to be careful is when I do improv, and when we perform in Beijing.
Yes.
We have to be very careful because there's some things you just cannot talk about, and improv is all about spontaneity.
But how do you stop your brain? Because your brain thinks of a gag.
Well,
and you've got
the
to
thing
stop
is, you'd be surprised. There's that one little part back here that is like it's something that just triggers. I mean,
so that's finely tuned.
Yeah.
Are there any other taboos in terms of things that you wouldn't talk about in a routine?
For our Shenzhen team, we're targeting to do TV shows, so we have many things we don't do, like sex, religious. But for the politics, I think China is being more open than many years ago. You can talk about policies.
It's just hard to get the right angle.
Yeah.
You think, I want to talk about this and make people laugh.
Yeah.
I don't want to make anybody lose face.
That would be hard for you, because in the US it's all about making people lose face.
Right.
Especially
political. It's like, I am going to embarrass the president now.
You're going to lose so much face, you're not going to have a face. You're gone. Your face has disappeared.
And also I found that when you want to talk about politics, you only get the information from newspaper.
Right.
It's not from your own life. You don't have experience at all. So it's very hard for you to write a joke.
I'm very loath to ask my next question then, because you mentioned talking about sex, which I guess you could experience in your own life. But is sex, is that something you'd feel comfortable talking about in China?
In my English shows, yes. But in Chinese shows, we touch upon it and we are careful to read the audience and see how they react.
But what do you think of the universal comedy gold topics? What do you think everyone around the world finds funny?
Struggles with life.
Yes,
daily struggles. Nothing, not big, but I don't have enough to cover my bills this month. Why did this guy walk in front of me?
Husband and wives. Housing problems.
They're not getting girlfriends.
Yeah.
Sound like you're speaking for me.
Not my own problem. I'm just.
This isn't a dating show.
Kenneth's number will appear on the screen at the end of the show, and anyone who wants to call in.
No, what I'm saying is I'm single. It's hard to tell, right?
So what do you lovely ladies do here in Guangzhou? You're married, that's what you do here. Okay.
I have to say that I'm married. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, gentlemen.
That's all for this edition of China Chats, but we're going to be back shortly with these three guys looking at why humour is so important in all our lives. See you next time.